Hey everyone, I just wanted to jump on. A few of you have been asking me for my templates, particularly the people who are working with me. And the reason why I want my template is because I've got my colours, my arrangement, and when we do a mix or we do a session, I'm not messing around trying to find things. I can find things by the colours. So I'm going to give this template away for free in Ableton. Sorry, on my website, subtonemusicacademy.com. Link is below. So if you want this, you can download it for free and not everything that's in it. And before I go into it, I just wanted to let you know that I don't really have a template as such. I can have the basics here, but I don't have any plugins on really besides a bit of EQ, maybe a bit of reverb or delay every now and then. And the reason for that is that I want to get my track 90% there just with the elements that I'm putting in the track. So the most important thing for a great track is what you put in the track. It's like baking a cake. So I always believe that, I only want one kick, possibly two, a top kick, up at 4K and the bottom of the kick around 50 hertz. I don't want loads of pianos. I want just one great piano. But I do lay a piano sometimes. And the key for me for a great mix is not the plugins you put on, it's the elements that you put into the track. So I don't have any distortion. I don't have loads of things in there until I get my track together. So what I do is I'll mess around in clip view here, find something that I want, and then I'll transfer it over to the arrangement. At this moment in time, this is just a bit of a setup in clip view, and I put a few sounds in just so you can see them, but I want you, if you are my clients, to colour them as is. So that's it. I want my mix to be 90% there before I put any plugins on. And you should think that way, because it's like in the old days when we used to do the samplers and everything else. We didn't have loads of plugins. We didn't have loads of things. We had to choose the right sample for the track, right? And that kick had to come through, and that piano had to be right. And yes, I think we concentrate on having too many plugins and too much. And the reason why I don't do lots of tips is because I don't believe that this is going to make your piano better or that's going to make your bass better. Get the right bass first of all, get the right sample first of all, and your mix is going to be much easier to mix. So let me tell you about my template. So I have a lot of groups, as you can see here. So I have a kick bus, I have a percussion bus, and then in the percussion bus I have a High-Perc bus, which is things like open hats, hi-hats, 16s, crashes, rides, shakers. And if you can see here, if the bright green, that means it's a simpler. And if it's a bit darker green, that means it's an actual loop. And it just means that I can, when I'm mixing down people's tracks, I can jump to them quicker. And then the same for the mid drums. So the mid drums is the clap, snare, clavs, rims, conga loop, percussion loops, anything in that mid-range, because I like to treat these two different quite a lot of the time. And then I've got the bass bus, and I'll have the bass, and then I might have like a top bass and a bottom bass depending on the style. I've then got my music bus. In my music bus I've got my leads, lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, etc. I've got a piano there, there's a string there. And then I've got a vocal bus, and I've got an effects bus, which I call them white noise or my stabs, all them little things. And the reason why I do it like this, and the reason why I don't use any sends in Ableton, is mainly because it's a pain in the ass. I do in Logic, I do in Cubase, and I am going to be doing templates for them, is because if I send it off for a stem mix, I want to send off 6 stems to my mastering engineers, and this is probably what they're going to ask you for. I might split up the music bus into more than one bus if I've got a particular lead, but this is generally how I send it, because a lot of the time, specifically my clients, they've not got the experience I have, so they might want to get the track together. They might not have the right room, whatever. They might send it to me, or they might send it to a master engineer and get a stem mix done. And I get mixes done all the time, masters, sorry, because I've just done my own heading with my ears on my own track. So I send it off for a stem mix, and it's just sometimes with my own tracks I can do my heading with it. With other people's tracks, bang bang bang, it's easy. But you're too invested and you've listened to it a million times when it's your own track. So that's why I do these groups, okay? And what I do is, instead of using sends, I will create effects racks. So, for example, on the vocal here, I've created a couple here for you. One's for a delay, and you can watch one of my other tutorials, see after this. I've got a delay one. It's just like, this is the dry and this is the send. And then after that, I've got a reverb one saying the same. And it just means that I can EQ them. And then on this one, I've side-chained the reverb to the vocal that's in there. I'll give you a little bit of a sample. Let's have a listen to this. So that's what I do. And just for people, I push people to try and come up with not just one variation of the lead, for a few different variations. So with the lead, I've got lead 1, V1, V2, V3. And same with the bass, I want V1, V2, bass for the break. You might not necessarily do that all the time, but I think you get more creative if you just try and come up with some more options. And this is great for this in this view. I've used these colours as well because they stand out a little bit more on Ableton Push. I'll just show you quickly if I was doing it this way, how I could do it. But on Push, I could just press, if I had 4 different leads with all different colours, I could just press the buttons on Push and see which variations come better for me. So this is what I've done. The first one's got a filter kick. And I like working this way because I can just come up with like different kind of jams and different kind of arrangements of the music, specifically using Push. And like this might be duplicated and all be different colors, and I might jump from that one with that one, or that one with that one. And it's a great way of doing it. I've not put anything in the leads. That's there for you to do. I've just done it because I have this in, and it reminds me to make sure that I give some variation to the lead and try and do that. So I'll just go through what I've done. So I've got the kick. It's in a simpler. I've done a filter kick for the intro and for the break, so you can see it. On there, I've just put an EQ. I have got a bit of saturation, raw Ableton, because it just sounded good in this. You don't necessarily have to use it. In fact, I'll turn that off. And that's my kick. In my percussion bus, I've got my hi-hats, but really all I would do normally is I would have the 16s off, I would have the ride off. When I'm getting my track together, I wouldn't have any patterns, I wouldn't have a shaker, I might have a little loop in there, but not too much, because your groove can depict what you create as a melody, specifically in tech house. So I like to start with the lead always and get the variations of the lead. And like in this case, if there's just one lead sound, the lead is lead 1, the bass is lead 2 with the kick, how they work together. And then I add the sounds in order of which is the most important. So like I said, light green for simplers or instruments and dark green for actual audio. And then same with the mid drums. I've got 2 claps here because a lot of the time I have a clap which is a body like a 707, and then I have something which is a tone like this. and then I can mess around with them if I like. I've then just got a loop in there, conga loop. I just put that in just so it was a different color and you could see if you were importing audio loops in, that's what you would do. I've got a snare, I wouldn't have that in. I wouldn't have the conga in when I started. And then I've got just another couple of simplers for like a clave or a rim or something like that. So that's all I have. And it's basically a kick, a closed hat or an open hat, and a clap. I might have a little 16s or a shaker, but generally not. I've then got my bass buzz. I've just put an operator in there with a nice sounding bass that I've done. And I have got an LFO tool in there. Now I know this isn't stock, but I tried to recreate LFO tool using stock plugins and it just didn't work, because specifically I like to use LFO tool with the under 100 hertz or under 120 hertz. I couldn't quite get it to, it just didn't sound the same. So I've put that in. I'll put a link below where you can buy it. It's not expensive. If you use ShaperBox, you can do the same thing with ShaperBox. If you use Duck, you can use Duck. I don't like Kickstart because the thing is this. So if you look at this here, by the time the kick comes in, the volume's been turned down beforehand. Okay. When it comes to Kickstart, I find it starts here, and that's not really what I want. I want the volume of the bass under 100 hertz to be cut out before the kick comes in, so it's not affecting the transient at all. And that's also the reason why I don't use a compressor with the bass. It is because the attack of a compressor is how long it takes to go to full compression. And even with a fast attack, you can get a lot of kind of artifacts, because it's still letting that little bit through and it doesn't have a look at on the stock plugin. So I just find this to be easier, and I really, really like it. And again, this ShaperBox, Duck, any of them ones that you want to use, but I use LFO tool. And then on the music bus, I've just got an empty simpler and I've got 3 variations. Same with all the music. Vocals, I've just put a bit of a vocal in off a track that I've got. Lead 2, lead 3, I've coloured them in a way, and then I've got the effects bus. So in the effects bus, just white noises, rises, all that kind of stuff. Everything is gain stage to -12 with the fader at 0, like I do. You can see in my other videos. And try and keep it, every time you bring something into the project, straight away, fader at 0, get it to -12, and you never have it clipping. That's how I do it. Watch my video on gain stage if you want to know why. And that's it really. I've put some reverbs on and on the vocal and stuff, and I've used some of my impulses. So they're really nice reverbs. And I really like what I've done here with this reverb. I really like hybrid reverb because I use a lot of impulses from third party. I've got a load of them. So yeah, that's my template. I don't have any distortion. I don't have loads of reverbs. I don't have loads of delays. I don't have anything because I want my track to sound great, you know, just with the elements, and then I'll go into the mix. You know, if you want to leave me any tips, because Ableton isn't my first DAW originally. It is now. I'm getting more and more into it. Any more tips? I'm going to update this template and take it from there. But I would say to you, you know, don't go into anything, any template or any plugin thing. Oh, I use this on this. Learn how to use the plugins and see what they do and make a decision every single time. That's why I don't want loads of stuff in where I start off. I just want to get in. I want to get making tracks, and I want to go into starting with the lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, lead 4, and so on and so on and so on. Don't put loads of loops in at the beginning. Get your lead sound right, and then think about where your loop is in the order of leads. Now, just where we get to drums quickly. A key thing for me is always having the kick separate. You've got to have the kick separate. So that's why I have the kick. I always have the clap separate. Okay, you can get a clap in a loop and that's okay, but for me, the kick, the open hat or the closed hat, and the clap, I always want them to be separate. And the reason for that is because they always want the punch, and when you put them in a loop, you're restricted to the volume of them, or fit in the mix really well. And I'll get them key elements, and I might add the snare in there as well, the loop snare, and then I'll add my loops in after that and see how they work with everything else in the track, in particular the lead and everything else. So that's my template. You can download it from subtonemusicacademy.com. I'll get the key elements, and I might add the snare in there as well, the loop. And yeah, just hit me up. And any questions, I will answer them. I'm new to YouTube. I'm trying my hardest to get this right, but I've got some great more tutorials coming for you. And, you know, if anyone says to you these are the wrong colours, they're not. Kicks are red and basses are yellow. And if you mess them all up, they turn brown like shit. So use these colours if you're one of my clients and coming in, because it helps me speedily look at your project and make quick decisions when it comes to mixing. And if you like this template,